Hello, and now for my DRTDs, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the mGear structure on the framework. So let's open one of the plugin installation and let's see what we have in scripts. First folder, it's the scripts tools that we all have on our Maya installation. I'm gonna maximize this. So we can find also the user setup here with some imports to load the module. The menu, and we have the tools that we see on the menu. But then we have the mGear framework, and that is the most important part for me on the mGear. Here, what we have it's some modules that they're helping you to develop new rigs or tools for rigging. So we can find here some basic initialization and some modules that are for handling strings. There are modules that are not inside Maya because indeed you can use this for other applications. So very basic regular expressions and replacement. That's very simple, but indeed this is not related to Maya. You can use this anywhere, so it's outside. Then we have the Maya specific folder, and this is the framework. All these files here is the framework. So we have files to handle, for example, attributes, curves, dependency graph nodes, dependency graph itself, nodes, login, icons, curves, skinning, transformations, utilities, and vectors. And then we have the rigging folder and the synaptic folder. This is the modular auto rigging system. Inside we have the basic structure for the constructor and the guides, and also the user interface. And then we have the components that we have also here, the constructor for the rig and the guides, and the components itself that are the different parts that you construct your rig. And the template that for the moment is just the biped guide that you load when you import from here, from mGear import guide. That's it. It's just loading this. That in the future should be more refined, like it was on Gear for Softimage, but for the moment it's working like that, so we're gonna use the Maya files for templates. So let's go back to our Maya folder and let's see what we have here on this framework, because for me it's very important that you understand that if you want to develop new tools based on mGear, or if you want to create new components, because here is where you take the real advantage that you don't find in another modular rigging systems. And for example, I'm gonna use let's open this one, the node module. And if you check here, what we have, it's create decompose node, for example, decompose matrix, create distant node, create condition known, create blend. Well, can go like this, maybe it's better for you. Some of this is not yet documented properly. It's work in progress, the documentation. Apologize for that, but it's a lot of time to do it, so it's gonna be soon. Some of them are documented, and I will show you later the documentation, but for the moment it's maybe sometimes you need to dig here and check out what's going on. But I like to put an example, like for example, this one, create for example node or add node. Indeed, it's creating a double linear, but we handle the subtraction and the addition in two different commands, and then it's tracking two inputs, input 1 and A and B. So normally when you create nodes on using PyMail or other Maya commands, you need to first create a node, later handle the node, and create the connections after. But it depends if you set, for example, like it's straight value on the addition or multiplication, or if you put like input connection. So in this case, For example, here I'm just gonna open Epic Pencil so we can have a little better feedback. So we have these two input, and basically it's checking if it's instance of string, Unicode, or an attribute. So if it's an instance of one of these three elements, means it's not a value. It's not like at 3.05 that you want to add. So it's gonna connect for you in one step. Then if you pass in one of these attributes, you pass this value, it's gonna detect that it's not one of these three elements, so it's gonna set the value. Sorry, input B, or well, this is for checker for A and this is for B. Sorry, it's there. So that's very important, because you just keep, normally it's 1, maybe 2, 3 lines to just create one node and put all your inputs and outputs thing. But now with one line, you do the same. And this is the important part of the mGear framework, because you can reduce your number of lines and you can quickly develop new tools or new rigs. And let me delete this, and I'm just gonna go okay, let's go back to our folder structure. So let's see icons. So we have here the icons, and the icons are the elements like square, box, cube, pyramid, and so on. But these icons can be used for many things, so it doesn't need to be used for controls. So there is a separated icons module for that. Then, okay, let's open from here. We have a curve, attributes, and apply operators. That's very interesting, because this it's where we create, or for example, IKFK. Where is this one? Okay, let me do it from here. IKFK 2 bonds here. So we have the handy command that it's gonna construct for you the IKFK structure. So again, you just have one command and it's gonna connect a bunch of nodes for you and optimize your speed. And this is a proper documented, so you can read it and hopefully you will understand. And we have plenty of these nodes, primitives. For example, primitives are default Maya primitives, so we can have, for example, the transform, or add transform from position. So for example, we can add straightforward transform and set a matrix here. It's gonna use a green one, blue, I think it's better. So here, or we can add from position, so it's gonna take an input of a vector, so only 3 values, and it's gonna set this for you the rest. So you see, when you create rigs, you have to stack many transforms and transform. Maybe here you have some controls, then you have another transform, and this transform should be in the position of this one here, so this is an offset. So all this little process that you do over and over and over, obviously you can do it straightforward, but these little helpful functions, it's gonna speed up a lot your structure. Your rigging. So we can see here we have like add locator, unlocator from position, and so on. Joins, I can handle. And for example, for operators are behaviors for me. Like, so it's something that represents some kind of behavior. So we have the spline IK, it's here. So we have the IK handler constructor is there, but the IK spline is here. And again, this library is gonna be growing in the future months, so you're gonna have more and more tools. And yeah, that's it. It's very basic. I think you can go ahead and I like this one, because that was one of the I have more issues when I come from Softimage to Maya. It's how you navigate your the DAG. So here you have some handy commands or functions, like to get your top parent, not the parent, the top parent. Find the child or children, so different, or partial, so you can find based on a partial naming. And again, all this, it's just calling this more bigger function that parse more options. And here we have another one. So this, it helps a lot to navigate up and down on your structures. Then okay, oops. Okay, open this and let's go to the rig system. So here in the rig system, this is the design that is like a port from a soft image version. And indeed, if you want to start your own rigging, modular rigging from mGear, you can just create a new folder here, rig better, because it's gonna be better. So, and you can use all the same framework, and you have your rigging system here. So as you can see, you can share a lot of information. You can share the synoptics or maybe some custom widgets for you. But you don't need to share this for any reason you don't like this. Okay, don't use it. Go ahead. You're a TD, you can develop your own. So use this and improve it. And if you wish, you can share it again. And here in the rig, just for the sake of explanation, and we have these basic structures. The first one, it's gonna be okay. The guides. The guides, it's gonna handle the classes for the guide. So we have the main guide, and it's gonna set some basic information and methods for you. So all the elements that you need to construct the guide. Later we have the rig guide that it's gonna set, for example, the basic attributes that it's gonna have this guide. And then each of the components, it's gonna use this guide inheritance from here, and it's going more deep on the structure. So it's gonna parse all the elements for your component. So each component, it's gonna have here like for example, this method here to set the model position. So when we construct like I'm gonna delete this and guy here. So the chain, this little menu here, it's here, it's the model position. So if I go for the chain now, so chain 1 and guide, it's very simple. This is everything. So what you need to do here, it's set at location multiple. So it's gonna trigger for you this model position, and it's gonna generate it. This is just one option. In the future, the idea is to have like similar to Softimage, when you have a peak session and you can create more interactively your guides. But for the moment, it's like a model, so it's gonna pop this and it's gonna give you some options. So as you can see, everything is stacked there, and it's very easy to edit and modify. But the most the most difficult part is the constructor. That it's probably it's this init here. I mean the user interface is the user interface constructor. So this is the for example, we have the build, the initial hierarchy, and finalize all these strips that we have here. So we have like find child, some elements, and let me check here. Oh, sorry, I just don't know. Wrong shortcut. So we have build from selection, build, initialize, finalize, add groups, find child, components, UI false. And then we have here the components and the init for each, for the components. And here we have the steps. That's very interesting. Do you remember we was, or in the other video, when we, when we okay, I'm gonna do it with that. Just build from selection. It's so very quick, but check out these steps: objects, properties, operators, connect, finalize. So we have here initialize hierarchy, add objects. Step 3, add operators, init connector. So all these steps have a correlation here on these steps. And then if you check your again, I'm gonna use just the chain because it's very simple. Init here on the chain, we have a class component, and we add objects. That is what we saw before. Then sorry, it's add attributes here, add operators, and set relations. So all the construction have the same steps for all the components. So you ensure that when you create your new component, or you create your guide, sorry, your rig, first it's gonna create all the objects that it's gonna use. Then after, it's gonna create the attributes and add the operators. Yeah, here. Again, I'm reusing the circle. So the operators, it's gonna connect your objects. So first, this is component chain, and this is component arm. Since they have 1, 2, 3, create the objects, attributes, and then connect. You can connect this with this object and this with this object. So because all the objects are already created on the first step, so you ensure that it's not processing first the arm, and when it's finished the arm, later the leg. So if you want to make some relations here, maybe from the leg to the arm, it's no problem, but when you want to go from the arm to the leg, how you handle that, it's gonna be a problem. So that's the reason, because each of the components has these steps. And again, if you just take some time to dig on the components, and you will find that it's very, very repetitive, and you can see the patterns quite easily. And I hope you can do your own components soon, and maybe share it if you want. And I'm gonna finish this video with a little revision on the documentation. So let's go here on the mGear docs framework. I'm gonna open this one, and what we have here is the packages and all the structure with all the files. So we can check in, for example, scripts, mGear, Maya, and apply operator. So we have all the different operators that we can apply our in constraints. So we have apply or in constraint, changing the XYZ connections, blah blah, and so on. So hopefully it's helping you to also it has a pointer to the actual line of code of where is this function, so you can dig more easily on mGear and make it yours faster. That's the idea. Everybody's using it. So I think that's all for the technical part or technical structure of mGear. In future videos, I have planned to make more in-depth tutorials about component creation, synaptic creation, and some other little stuff. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.